So one of the biggest questions that I get is, should I reach out to my ex or not? So in this video, I'm going to break down the ins and outs of reaching out to an ex, understanding what are the right questions to be asking yourself right now, and then coming up with a plan in order to move forward. You know, going through a breakup, going through the tough struggles and ins and outs, it can be hard to know exactly what to do and when to do it, right? There seems to be like a constant search for a right answer, and this can leave you frozen in what you do. And oftentimes my answer is that you're asking the wrong question. Ultimately, if you want to repair the relationship with your partner, your focus needs to be on who you are, who you're becoming, rather than how can I just get them back? How can I just reconcile? Should I reach out to my ex or not? So reaching out to your ex isn't just about deciding if you should, it's about understanding why she isn't speaking to you. It's about identifying your intentions, and it's about preparing yourself to approach this with the emotional maturity of someone who has grown. And if you skip any of these steps, you're likely to fail, not because your partner is stubborn or hates you, but because you haven't demonstrated that you're worth the emotional risk. So there's a lot of X-back coaches out there. There's a lot of systems and scripts and tactics in order to manipulate someone into coming back to you, in order to try to entice them in order to be honest, fake a lot of the growth that is required for repairing a relationship. You know, relationships are all about how much you've grown. Walking away from a relationship is simply about refusing to grow in the direction of the relationship. That's the toughest truth. You know, when you think about relationships, this is not about one person or the other. This is about your ability to cultivate this relationship. And if you choose to walk away, then you're choosing to not cultivate the relationship. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it takes a lot of skill, emotional maturity, intelligence, and practicalities in order to cultivate this relationship, whether it's with your ex or somebody else. This is all about taking responsibility, removing your ego from the equation, and leading with a lot of humility and integrity. So let's break this down step by step. So when it comes to reaching out to your ex-partner, it's important to keep these in mind. The first thing when you're trying to decide whether you should reach out to your ex or not is understand why she is not speaking to you right now. So this part is going to sting, but it's really, really essential. If your partner has gone cold or is unresponsive or is limited in her responses, it's because she doesn't feel safe talking with you. Because her sense of emotional safety around you is broken or it's damaged. This is what we call emotional safety. But emotional safety is the ability to talk about your feelings without any sort of negative repercussions. Now, you might be thinking right now, well, I didn't shout, I didn't scream, I didn't flip a table. What's the problem? But the fact is that emotional safety is more than just that. It's more than the extremes. It's about many, many subtle things that are done. Invalidation, dismissal, judgment. So if your partner isn't speaking with you right now or is limited in speaking with you right now, it's crucial that you self-reflect and take a look at all the many ways that you may have invalidated, you may have dismissed, you may have judged, you may have forced your opinion at your partner, and understanding how over time that has broken emotional safety. Because the reason why they're not talking with you right now is because they don't want to. There's a lot of evidence that is built up to show them that talking to you is not going to have any positive outcomes. And this is really tough to face. And it's very easy to fall into this idea of blaming your partner. So there is a track record working against you right now. And that is the truth. And while this may feel very frustrating, stepping outside of your own pain and frustration and looking at the situation from your partner's perspective. So the reality is that she doesn't feel safe communicating with you, whether that's because of arguments, broken promises, or unresolved hurt. She has made a calculation that engaging with you right now is only going to cause more pain. And because there's a track record working against you, if you pushed, you've been needy, you've overreacted, or you've shown inconsistency in the past, those actions have created evidence at the back of her mind that talking to you isn't going to go to anywhere good. So her withdrawal or stepping back from the relationship, stepping back in communication, it's not just random. This is very, very logical. These emotions that have formed are actually filled with logical explanations. But just because you can't see them doesn't mean that it's not true. These are based on how things have unfolded. Reaching out right now, there is a high chance that you're likely to make it about you. You're likely to make it about wanting to repair the relationship. But if you think about it, right now, there's so much evidence to your partner that repairing the relationship is going to be worse for her. So if she gets the feeling that you're going to reach out to talk about getting back together again, of course she doesn't want to reach out, because right now she is expecting a lot of negative interactions. So when you're thinking to yourself, why is she ignoring me? Why won't she just talk to me so that I can explain? This mindset is actually quite ego-driven. because her silence is about her needs, not about your frustration. So it's really important to understand that building emotional safety isn't just about being nice to your partner or saying the right things. It's about showing through your actions and sometimes through your silence that you respect your partner. You understand why she may not want to speak to you right now, but also that you are capable of growth. So it's crucial that you assess the current relationship dynamics. So before you even consider reaching out, you need to take an objective look at how the communication is currently functioning or not functioning between you and your ex-partner. And this step is really essential. Expect Jack and all these sort of systems out there, this is what they completely skip over, is that they don't actually take the time for you to assess your current relationship dynamics. So the question is right now is, are you completely blocked? So if your partner has blocked you on every single platform, or even if there are legal implications, restraining orders, reaching out just isn't going to be appropriate. It can be harmful or even illegal. So you've got to understand the situation right now. There is nuance within that. But maybe the communication is hot and cold. The more that you spend time in step one, the more you can understand a little bit more about why your partner may be hot and cold, why your partner may have limited conversation. Maybe your partner has completely blocked you. Maybe your partner has said to you, I don't want to talk. Maybe your partner is giving mixed signals. So it's important to understand that once you fully understand why your partner may not be speaking to you right now, this is going to help you understand deeper the current dynamics that are happening right at this moment in time. But this also applies on the flip side. You know, there's a lot of people that say, well, I'm not speaking with my partner because we broke up. Their partner has never said, don't speak to me. Their partner has never said, don't reach out to me. Their partner has never said, I don't want to speak with you. They've just made the arbitrary decision themselves to say, well, we're broken up, so why would I speak with my partner? But this, on the other hand, reinforces to your partner that you actually don't care about them as a person. You only care about them if you're dating them. So just deciding that you broke up so there's no reason to talk without actually discussing that communication with your ex-partner, this can be just as damaging. The fact is that you have a relationship with somebody else, and relationships are built on negotiation, shared understanding. So if you have taken it on your own back to impose a silence arbitrarily without any real discussion, then you could have left a loose end that's going to hurt your chances of future connection because you've made a decision on behalf of your relationship without involving your partner or ex-partner. Remember, there are no shoulds in breakups. There's no shoulds in relationships. Every single relationship is unique, and the rules depend on what you mutually decide. A breakup doesn't necessarily mean automatically zero communication forever, just as it doesn't guarantee reconciliation is an option. What matters is how you both navigate the situation, understanding and respecting each other's emotional needs. And this is really crucial, and that's why going back to step one is really, really important. These are human beings. This is not a game of chess. These are real people that we're talking about. So reaching out to an ex-partner to repair the relationship isn't about following some ex-back system. It's not about step-by-step tricks and tactics and things like that, using psychological mind games to win your partner over. This is manipulation, and this is really reductive. And this is, to be honest, this is why I choose who I work with. I work with people who want to repair a relationship. I don't work with people who are just trying to win their ex-partner back regardless. You know, there's nothing wrong with wanting to repair the relationship. You know, wanting to repair a relationship is very different from just wanting to win an ex back. Your partner is not a puzzle to solve. So your mindset is, you know, what can I say to make her want me again? You're already on the wrong track. There's a lot of people out there that will give you a bunch of AI generated scripts. They will take $5,000 of your money. They will never interact with you. And then 6 months later, when you haven't repaired the relationship with your partner and you try to complain about it, they'll blame you. They'll say that you didn't do it right. You had the wrong mindset. You had the wrong attitude. And not only will you be back at square one, you'll actually be worse off than you were before. So understanding your situation is really crucial. So again, when it comes to shoulds, it's really important to understand that just because you're broken up doesn't mean that you shouldn't communicate. 99% of the people that I speak to in my daily life, I have no romantic interests in, but I still speak with them. These are human beings. So there are many reasons to speak with people. So there are many reasons for relationships, not just romance. So just deciding that you shouldn't be speaking with someone because you're not in a romantic relationship with them is just random. And ultimately it comes across as kind of selfish because you're basically saying, well, I don't care about you. unless we're having sex and you say that you love me. So then this leads me on to, what is your intent to reach out? So your intent in this situation matters more than anything. You're reaching out with the hidden agenda of getting back together, or if you're secretly trying to get back together, then you're already setting yourself up for failure. You have to ask yourself why you're really reaching out and be really honest with yourself about this answer. There's two main reasons that people reach out to an ex-partner. If you just want to feel better, if you just want to get some validation, or if you just want to get back together, if your goal is to simply get your partner back, to soothe your pain, to prove that you've changed, or just pull your partner back into your life without considering what she needs, then you're ultimately operating from a place of ego. But on the other hand, if you're reaching out from a growth-driven intent, if you are reaching out to take accountability, to acknowledge your role in what happened and communicate some of the mistakes that you've made and take this accountability, this requires humility. It requires removing that ego. And it also shows a willingness to respect your partner's autonomy, even if her not wanting to get back together with you isn't necessarily what you want. If you think about it this way, if you're trying to sell a car that she's already said that she doesn't want, she's test driven it, she's pointed out what's wrong, and she's walked away, if you're still trying to sell that car without actually fixing it, without working on it, without building it, growing it, and turning it into the car that is worthwhile, then she's just not going to see the value. So if you're reaching out just to say, hey, I've still got this car, do you want it? Then it shows that you're not listening. You didn't take any accountability, and you're not listening to what your partner wants or needs. So start to ask yourself, did you listen to what she told you wasn't working? Did you promise to fix things but fail to follow through? Are you coming back now with the same car expecting a different result? So your partner is already bracing herself for the same person that she walked away from. If you haven't done any work to fundamentally shift how you approach things, and you haven't taken any accountability, you can't show that, then you're only going to reinforce your partner's skepticism. So your intent must be clean. If it's about you, she's going to know. She's going to smell it a mile off. She will have seen the same tactics over and over again. But if this is about genuine growth, about humility, and about facing up to your flaws and acknowledging them, then she may be open to reconnecting again. But even then, you're not entitled to her trust or forgiveness. This still needs to be earned. So how do you earn your ex-partner's trust back? Before you even think about reaching out, you need to take a long, honest look at yourself. Remember, you've got to fix the car before you try to sell it. You've got to accept that trust takes time to rebuild. And you've got to be ready to respect her boundaries no matter what your partner's response is. So the first step is making sure that you have a clear plan. It's having a strong, clear plan for yourself, a North Star. This is the key of what my members and I call intellectual intimacy. There needs to be a clear plan that is practical, that is actionable, and has room for your partner to be part of. But this plan doesn't need to be reliant on your partner. You don't want to pressure them to reconcile, but they need to see that this plan has a space that can potentially involve them at some point. But this plan needs to be working on yourself in two ways, in an emotional way and in a logical way. So on the emotional side of things, what were your flaws? How did you contribute to the breakdown of the relationship? And what steps have you started to take to address them? So for example, knowing your flaws, digging into them, working on them. Are you working on your emotional regulation, your communication skills? Have you the ability to take accountability, radical accountability? Have you identified patterns of behavior that hurt your partner or the relationship? But then there's also the practical growth side of things. Are you creating stability in your life, financially, professionally, and personally? Are you showing that you are capable of being a reliable partner? So for example, organizing, planning, finances, career, housing, all this sort of stuff. This plan doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't even need to be ambitious, but it needs to be realistic, vulnerable, and transparent. And this is why it's so crucial, again, to the very first step that we spoke about. It's so crucial to make sure that you are being realistic about how you impacted the relationship. And this is why, when I work with members, this is not some 30-day or 60-day ex-back program. This is crucial, honest self-reflection that actually leads to massive growth. The more that you can humble yourself, the more that you can be honest with yourself. And this is what I help to do as a coach, is to point out those blind spots, point out those places where you may not have seen that you do need to grow. The more that you manage to do this, the bigger your growth is, and the more of an impact you will have when you do eventually reconnect with your partner, when you reach out. And if you do want to join the members and I, then join me on my free Relationship Bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my members have used. They start in this exact place, this Relationship Bootcamp. just click on the link in the description to grab your spot. Next, it's crucial to be in progress, not just planning. So this isn't about hypothetical goals. You can't just sit there and have a plan and make some promises and that's it. If you are wanting to reach out to your partner, you need to be already taking action on these. You need to be working on these things that you say that you're working on, because your partner needs to see consistency, not potential. This needs to be happening regardless of relationship status. These steps need to be happening regardless. And this is what your partner needs to see. That you're not just doing this. You're not just coming up with a plan and saying, here's my plan. These changes need to be made because you know that you need to make these changes, not because she wants to see these changes. And this is where true self-reflection and humility comes in, is that if you're just doing this to get your ex back, then it's not going to last. And your partner will be able to smell this a mile off. And this is why, again, ex back coaches and programs and systems don't work. They don't work long term because you're doing it to get your ex back. You're not doing it to repair a relationship and to become a better partner. So it's crucial that you start small and continue small. So, a lot of people try to do these bold, big actions. They try and buy something or throw money at a situation. They try and make these big, grand gestures. But you've got to remember your intent. If you're wanting to repair a relationship, then it requires work that is on the relationship. And working on the relationship is about learning communication. It's not about buying flowers and chocolates and cars, all this sort of stuff. Repairing a relationship is about the small things. So if you're ready to reach out, remembering that reaching out is only going to be one step in many different conversations that are going to repair this relationship. So it's important to start small. This is not about coming out with some big grand gesture, some one perfect letter or one perfect speech to your partner. This is about humility and one of many steps that it's going to take. So for example, saying, hey, I've been reflecting a lot on what happened between us. And I want to respect your space, but I also want to take accountability for my role into what happened between us. And I've been taking a really long, hard look at myself, and I kind of wanted to be a bit more of an adult about this and reconnect to take accountability ultimately. If you did want to reconnect, I would love to, but if you don't, then there's no need to respond. I do completely understand why you wouldn't want to be speaking to me right now, but I just thought I'd reach out. Something like that is such a small gesture. It shows that you're taking the time to self-reflect, to grow, but you're also respecting her boundaries, her space, and understanding that your partner doesn't want to speak right now. But the hard truth is that when you do reach out, there is a 0% chance that your partner is going to want to reconcile. Absolutely microscopic chance that your partner is even going to want to talk to you right now. That's the truth. Your partner's not going to suddenly go, oh my God, yes, let's get back together. Great. There's a 0% chance that this is going to happen. And you need to be fully prepared for this resistance and know how to handle it without getting defensive, without reverting to old patterns. So when you do reach out, understanding what we call expectancy bias is crucial. So I've actually done a longer, deeper dive video, which I'll link to on the screen and in the description down below. Expectancy bias is your partner pre-existing knowledge of how you've reacted in the past and giving a heightened response in order to try to protect herself from it happening in the future. So when you do reach out, there's a high chance that your partner is going to have a lot of this expectancy bias, that your partner is going to push back. And this is where the true test of your growth will show. And this is what I try to make very, very clear to everyone watching, is that yes, you can reach back out whenever you want, but growing 30, 40% better than you were before is not going to be good enough, because when a hard moment happens, your partner rejects you completely, says all of this really horrible stuff to you, how you respond to it is going to be crucial. And if you aren't ready and prepared for it, then you're going to crumble, you're going to act toxically, you're going to blame, you're going to say a lot of hurtful things, and you're going to destroy any chance of getting back together. Because you're going to show to your partner that you've grown maybe 5, 10%, and that's just not going to be good enough to reconcile and repair the relationship. So it's really crucial to understand expectancy bias, the level at which it appears, and how to master it. And this is completely normal. It makes a lot of sense. Once you start to remove your own ego from this and understanding why your partner would want to protect you from this, again, this goes back to step 1. If you understand deeply why your partner wouldn't want to be speaking to you right now, then you're going to understand why expectancy bias happens and why they would feel so defensive when you do reach back out. So I'm going to leave you with that deeper dive video on expectancy bias, and I will see you over there.